right, so this morning, everybody, welcome. We are going to be talking about marketing and branding and why it is so important when it comes to running your PTA and getting your message out there. So I'll get started. Kind of put in the chat for me, what do you think branding is? Like when you think of branding and marketing, what are the first things that come to your mind? Logo, right? Absolutely. That is a huge part of your brand. 100%. Right? You're a brand, and one of the best ways to kind of think about it is your brand kind of defines who you are and what you want to stand for, right? Your branding is how you're connecting with your audience, and it's really communicating the difference that you're bringing either from other PTAs, from other school programs. It's communicating who you are to the people on the receiving end. So a lot of people have various reasons for choosing to support different nonprofits, even companies, for example. When you hear Apple or Google or, Petco, PetSmart, Starbucks, all of that, as soon as I say any of those words, it's all bringing an image into your mind, right? The same thing happens with PTA, for better or worse. There are some amazing notions out there for all that we are and all that we do, and some that are not so much. So that's why it's so important to kind of understand your brand and understand your audience and who you're wanting to look for, because a lot of people connect with brands on an emotional level. Like, how many of you have gone to a restaurant 20, 30 times over your lifetime, and then all of a sudden one time you have a horrible experience? Now, some people will maybe know the owners, or will know those serving staff, or know the cooks, and may go back and give them another chance, but some people may not. And that you got to approach your brand with your PTA the exact same way. It's very important to make sure that we're being clear, we're being consistent, we're being kind, we're being patient, we're making sure that in every way that we communicate with our customers, for lack of a better word, they are our clients, right? We are here as a PTA board member to serve them. So we want to make sure that we're creating that value in every way that we start. So here's the first question is, if I want to do branding, where do I start? Well, as a PTA, we have the National PTA sets our branding guidelines. And that's important to remember, because we are all chartered under our state PTA, who all are operated under National PTA. So our branding guidelines for all of us all across the country are the same. So you can go to pta.org and find it. What I like to do is to make it easier is I'll just come into Google and type in National PTA Branding Guidelines. So if you haven't already, I'm going to drop this link in the chat as soon as I get to it. I'm going to drop this link right here. All right, and now here is a little, as kind of what I just said before, right? Our consistency is key. We have our style guides, your advertising guidelines. There's a lot of amazing systems here, a lot of amazing resources here that you can go through to help you understand branding, why we do what we do, what it's supposed to look like. And what you're really going to look at here is this: customize your PTA logo. So when we click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to download. You notice it popped open here, a little customize your PTA logo PowerPoint. So that's what we're going to open. All right, so when you open this PowerPoint logo, it's going to tell you exactly how to make your own PTA logo in both English and Spanish. So it'll go through, it'll give you the instructions, your sizing. It's going to be 5 by 5. You can do black or blue in Spanish, and it tells you exactly what to use. You'll come down here and you can go through, you can read all of the instructions if you forget everything after this, and then you can come here and make your logo. So one of the cool parts about this is they pretty much have everything done for you. They're making it way easier. All you have to do is choose whether you want to do the black one or the blue one. And then you just type it in. So let's say that we want to do it in English, and we come here, we just do ABC PTA. So I want you to notice that it's doing the font automatically. It's the same one that comes up there in the top. The Arial is what they want you to use. And then the logo is here. And then you will just save it. You can do that in black and blue, and you can have 2 different versions of it. So if you want to say ABC PTA, and then you want to have a Spanish version of it as well, you can absolutely do that. And once you do this, you can file. And then in Google Sheets, it's going to be download, but in Microsoft PowerPoint, it's going to be save as. Either way, you can save it as a PNG. or PDF. Personally, I would just say PNG because you're going to be sharing it as a picture for the most part. Once you have it, I'm going to download it here as a picture. That's where you're going to start using it. So a few things, if you took the Canva class or whatever marketing or whatever platform that you're using, if you want to keep it in Google Drive, I recommend that you do that. I'm going to show you what it looks like for us as well. So if we come over here, once you start creating these logos, you definitely want to share them with your team, right? So come over here, go to our shared drives. We have one for our board. And then we have one for each individual position on our board, but then we also have this, it's called files, which are things that everybody can use. So one of the things we have here is our graphics and templates. So you can have different versions of it. So we have our logo, we have our logo banner because we made a banner version of that logo. We also have a Google Slides template, PowerPoint, etc. So those are important because when you're doing presentations for your families, so let's say you're doing your general meetings, you want to use the same slides over and over again. You want them to get used to it. Again, they're building that familiarity. Think of it as if you had a friend and you went over to that friend's house and they look completely different every single time. They changed their hair, they're wearing makeup, now they're not wearing makeup, they're dressing emo, now they're dressing super fancy, now they're dressing like they just woke up. If you came over to a friend's house every single time, you're not going to get used to what they look like. You're not going to know what to expect from them. And that can be a little disconcerting, right? So the same thing when it comes to your branding and guidelines, you want to come across consistent. You want people to see you in the same way every single time. I'm going to open up our slides template here just as an example. That no matter what presentation that we do, we are going to have the same look because this is a look that we established a few years ago. And it's going to stay consistent. Now, if you do decide to change because your board changes every year, totally get that. I would not recommend changing more than every 2 to 3 years. And when you do change, you want it to be a little bit, you want it to be a minor change, right? Most of us use our school colors. And I'm going to come over here to our branding kit in Canva. So you're going to upload your logo. You're going to have these colors. These colors you're going to use everywhere. Now, I'm using Canva. Again, this is free for 501c3s, but there are other platforms out there, whatever you guys are using. You can upload them and use them over and over again. Wherever it is, you want to make sure everyone on your team has access to the same logo, the same colors, down to the hex codes. And you'll notice these are right here. And if we come back to our branding guidelines over here at PTA, they have the same thing. Where did they go? They are telling you the colors, right? So you know exactly what colors you want to use, and the same thing with your font. You want to pick a font that's a little bit edgy, but it's still clear, concise, and easy to read. All right, I'm going to pause there. So actually, one more thing before we pause. Once you have your logo, this is where you would stick your school up above it. So let's say that we're doing this one, we're ABC PTA, and we are doing, I'm going to do ABC, well, I don't want to steal branding, but let's say that this was our school colors. I'm making this up entirely. So you could take your school logo and put this in there kind of with it or behind it, to the side of it, etc., whatever you wanted to do. But this piece of it here, the name of your PTA and this should always be the same. And then you can stick your school logo around it. I've seen some very creative ways to do this. There was one school that had a bear paw print as their logo, and they put the PTA part within the logo. That's fine. Put it out around side of it, but your logo and branding itself should be exactly as you see here. All right. Any questions on that? What are we thinking so far?
All right. So the PTA, like Hamilton, we need to have Hamilton Elementary, then the PTA, every child, one voice, and then like we have Milty, our mascot. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can absolutely put the mascot in here too. That's fine. Whatever you want to put around it, go for it. It's this piece right here, this PTA, every child, one voice, or coming down here to the Spanish version, PTA Cada Niño Una Voz. That needs to stay the same, and then your title will be put the same. So for Hamilton, it will be Hamilton Elementary PTA. Looking at that, make sure I spelled that right. And so yes, and then 100% put your logo, your little guy around it. If I put it here in my media folder. Let me see. Yep. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. But once you have this logo, it's going to want to be everywhere. So we were wanting to order business cards for our board. I highly recommend doing this. Would not put anybody's name on it because these business cards can be reused. So what you would want on it, and this is by no means professional, there's lots of templates here in Canva, but you want to have contact information for your PTA, and you want it to be something that's not going to change year over year. So you don't want to put anybody's personal email on it, would not even put anybody's name on it, because, you know, someone could be president today and next year, and 3 years later, you still have cards and they're no longer president. Or it may not be the president handing out the cards. Maybe it's the VP of Ways and Means trying to find vendors, or maybe it's memberships chairs trying to get people to sign up to be their member. You want to make it where they have contact information, have it, but again, logo is right here. So now I'm going to go back and make our logo still with these colors and figure out where these hands came from and fix our logo too. You guys get to see the inside scoop on fixing your logo. All right, good questions. Any others on branding itself, or before we switch over to marketing? All right, awesome. I do apologize. I'm losing. All right, so now let's talk about marketing. Marketing in and itself, and why it's so important, is because you want to make your customers, and I'm going to continue to refer to them as customers, and I apologize for that, but your members, really, right? Because your members are the people that you're serving. And it's not just people who are members. And I guess I kind of need to make that distinction, because yes, we have an obligation, and especially a fiduciary responsibility to our membership. It is their money that we're managing. It is, you know, it is their money that we're implementing programs. We're doing fundraising for them. Like, we represent our members. That is our job. But they're not the only, they're not the only ones that we serve. First and foremost, we serve the children, most of which are not members unless you're PTSA. Most of our students are not members, but that still makes them, they are what we're here for, right? Every child, one voice. So they are one of our biggest and most important people that we serve. They're our audience. They're who we want to communicate with. Now, a lot of our children are little and have no idea who we are or what we do. So their parents, our community, adults in their lives are also that, that's our second bucket, if you will, of people that we serve. So we serve their parents, we serve people in the community that might want to support the schools. When you guys are out looking for people to pay to put the banners on your fence, people are not paying that just because they like you. They're going to get something out of it, right? But at the same time, they're choosing to advertise with you for a reason, because they have, they want, yes, they're trying to get customers from those parents, but they also understand that you're there, you can contact them, you have a way to distribute that information. And that's why it's so important to make sure that your branding and your message is consistent, and the way that you approach people in the community. So if you're out asking for donations, make sure your why, your message is clear. So have talking points. If you're not all that great on it, get down and have a committee. You are more than welcome to reach out to me. I can help you put together some great talking points, because PTA has a lot of it, 100%. Like, you can go to pta.org, why parents section. Let me just do that. So if you come here to pta.org, there are so many resources in here, but what you want to do is you want to take these and customize them when you're talking to other people. So if I come in here, let's say PTA resources. We've got local leader kits, all kinds of things. Loading. So there's lots of things here that you can talk about. So if you want to talk about how PTA talks about health, how PTA supports STEM, etc. So Hamilton Elementary, for example, I know that's an engineering magnet elementary school. So that could be something that you could focus on, is how you support STEM. Or conversely, because it's an engineering school, you could also talk about how, even though the school is 100% geared towards engineering, you also support the arts, right? Because that's a huge, important part of children's lives, is the arts as well. So all of those resources are in here. I'm sure you guys have seen some across our different local units, where there's putting a list together of everything the PTA does. Those are fabulous. Make it a graphic. You have all of these in here, and you can just come in here and download these pamphlets, etc. The family resources, a parent toolkit, or iChildren magazine. How you can have people tell people how to subscribe to that. There's so many different things in here that you can pick. But try to make sure when you're having this, like, yes, this is what PTA does across the nation. This is what we're going for. we want to have everything for success, and then talk about specifically what your PTA does. Have those talking points, especially if it's something that you do every year, for example. So one example could be literacy night. I know a couple PTAs that do that. They support a literacy night twice a year, at least. Some of them do a little bit more. They focus strongly on literacy because that's the biggest need in their school. And that will vary from school to school. I have worked, we actually my children went to a school where hunger was the number one thing that we had to fight, because so many of our children weren't getting to school in time to have the free breakfast. Even if they were, there was a stigmatism around it, right, on getting free food. Same thing for lunches. So hunger was a thing, and they didn't have food to eat over the weekend. That was a known issue at our schools. That's something that our PTA worked very hard towards. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are plenty of schools that struggle with that. We have a local unit that was their focus. That's what they wanted to work on, to make sure that all children, regardless of their race, orientation, etc., all children felt welcome and safe at the school. They worked on having, different signage and making sure that our communications were going out into the order, into the verbiage, the letter, the languages that our families were going to. So word of caution with that: Google can absolutely translate just about everything. So, and into any language. Make sure you have someone who is a native speaker read that before you send it out as much as possible. Google's gotten really good, but some things are just slightly different. You want to make sure you have someone who speaks the language. And that's honestly a great way to get someone to volunteer, is say, hey, we don't need you to come in if you don't want to. You don't have to come to meetings, but we really do need someone. So for example, you can put it on your website. We really need someone to proofread our Spanish communications. And that's all we ask, is we send you the communication, like you've written it up, it's in English. You go to Google Translate or whatever service you want to use, you translate it, and then you send it to them and say, hey, is this right? Do we need to change anything? And you can have a volunteer do that. And that's a great way to get someone involved, because now they're seeing everything that you're sending. They're actually taking the time to read it. So that's a fabulous way to see it. And if you go to EduData, I remember the exact website. Yep, it's edudata.floridadoe.org. This is for us here in Florida. But if you come here, you can search your school. So I'm going to pick a school, Stanford. That's where my kids used to go to school. Loading. Everything we teach. Try this again. Going to go right to the school, because there's a couple ways you can do it. You can see the district report card, state report card, or individual school report cards. So if we wanted to go here and want to see who's in Seminole, I'm going to go to Sanford Middle, because that's where my kids went to school for a little bit. Now I can view the school report card. So here's some things that's really going to help you with the branding and knowing who you're talking to. If you come down here, you see the population and enrollment, right? It tells you what the ethnicity is of that school. So this one, we've got 22.8% Hispanic. So it's possible that there might be Spanish-speaking families. There's also Asian, so that will be another one. And then we've got our Black African-American here. So there's 3 different segments that might have non-English speaking families that you need to communicate with. And I'm not even going to be 100% white. Do not put that across, because there's plenty of people from Russia and Germany, plenty of families that still come here as immigrants, and they don't speak English. So what you can do is you can kind of take a look at that and go to your principal. Your principal should have a list, or your assistant principal, whoever you communicate with, should have a list of the top languages spoken at the school and by what percentage. So for as much as possible, especially I would say 2%. If you have at least 2%, try to send it out in that language. Even if it's 1%, if you can get someone to send it out or make a communication in that language, fabulous, go for it. So if we can say here, this is 4.6% of the students in the school are still learning how to speak English, right? We have 2.3% of the students at this school that are homeless, right? These are great statistics to come through and really understand your school and what your needs might be. Now, again, have that conversation with your principal, because numbers and statistics are a great tool, but they're not all inclusive, right? So use this as an opportunity to understand your audience, understand who you're talking to, and try to understand what your needs are. So if you're coming into a school where it's different, and we do have a school, I believe it's closer to like 96% economically disadvantaged, you're going to have a very different audience. You're going to have very different needs, right, than someone who might be 20% economically disadvantaged, right? So have that understanding and use that to have that conversation. And that's kind of what another tool that you're going to have is your social media. So if we're going to come over here to our Facebook page, there's a few things that I would recommend doing as far as understanding your marketing here. One, you can come down here and your business suite, and you can come down to insights. And this is for Facebook and Instagram, but Twitter and TikTok and all of them have similar tools that you can look into. So here it's basically telling you what I did at the beginning. But one of the things you can do is come over here to the left-hand side and click on benchmarking. So benchmarking tells you how you're doing compared to other people in your area that are of similar size. So for this one, it's comparing us against nonprofits and religious organizations, because they have, we're nonprofits, we tend to have the same audiences. So this Facebook is automatically doing this for us, and we can switch it over to Instagram. And you can kind of see where we're doing, right? Most people, so on average, a quarter of the people had 9 pieces of content. The higher end, a lot of people had 36 pieces of content, and then we are extra, so we put 52 pieces. So you can kind of see where you are to others. But more importantly, what I would recommend is come in here and pick schools that are close to you to kind of watch them and see what they're doing. So since we are a county council, the pages that I watch are other counties within the state of Florida. So if you're in Seminole County, you might want an elementary school. You might want to watch other Title I elementary schools in Seminole County. Or if there aren't a lot that are similar, you could also look to Orange, Volusia, all of these other counties. But you want to have at least 4 or 5, if not more. You put as many as you want, but you want to have at least 4 or 5 that are comparable to what you're doing, and watch what they're posting, how people are engaging with it. So like, for example, here you can see that our Instagram followers went up 7 within your time frames up here within the last month. No one else's did. So that's good. That means we're doing something right. And same thing if we switch it over to Facebook. We can see that we can see what's going up, right? And we can compare ourselves to other people. Our content, me personally, I'm competitive, so I'm trying to make sure. So if you guys haven't already liked and followed us, please do. But this is kind of give you an idea of following other people's pages, seeing what they're doing, right? We're all here together. We all want to share ideas. If you're in the Seminole County, we have a leaders group, post your ideas there. If you don't have an idea, you're stuck, you're at a loss, you can ask that question in there and everybody can help out and tell you what they're doing. So the next thing that we are going to do is come over here into our insights is audience. This is a very useful tool because it tells you who's following you on social media. So we're looking here at our Facebook, and this honestly is not going to surprise anyone, I'm sure, but the majority of our followers are women. The majority of our Instagram followers are also women, but you can see the percentage breakdown's a little bit different. So we actually have more male followers on Instagram, and everyone's will be different, but this is where you can also kind of see like, where are people following us? So for our Facebook followers, the majority of our followers are from Oviedo and Sanford and Warner Springs. So we come down here. Now, I personally know offhand Heathrow and Wekiva are a little bit smaller cities in general in Seminole County. And also keep in mind, some people will put Orlando area for that don't want to put their specific city. So if you live next to a big metropolis like Orlando, even though Orlando's in a completely different county, some people tend to still put that as their address because they don't want to put their specific one. But this is a good idea to tell you exactly where people are following you from. This helps you understand your audience. You can come here. Most of our followers are from the United States. Honestly, I think it's pretty awesome that we have followers from Brazil, Puerto Rico, Canada, Pakistan, India, the Philippines, Guernsey, Portugal. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. If you come in here, you might be surprised that some, and granted, some of it might be spam, but it could also be we had an international day, I want to say like 2 years ago. And what we did is we encouraged and gave points to PTAs who could get members from out of the country, and they got the most points. And then you could get like some points if you got a member from out of state. So keep that in mind. Your membership and your audience do not have to be from the United States. They do not have to be from your county. They don't have to be from your school. They don't have to have kids. They could be aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, anybody that is interested in supporting children. I have known some fabulous people in PTA who've never had children of their own. They don't have nieces or nephews, but they still are passionate about supporting kids, whether it's for maybe they've known trauma, whatever the reasons are, it doesn't matter, that we are all here and that you get to understand your community. This is pretty cool. Again, come in here, click around. Another thing you can click on here is potential audience. Now they say I can reach up to 21 million people. I think that's hilarious. But one of the ways to do that is to advertise. So when you're advertising like this, for example, take everything with a grain of salt. They're saying if I advertise in New York, I'm probably going to do awesome. Yes and no. I'm in Seminole County, Florida. That's not really my target audience. It would be great if we had New York members for our units, but that's not really who I'm wanting to get into. So when I'm going to make an ad, so let me go back to our page. Not this stuff. Stop it. Might go back home to our Facebook page. Some great things that you can use to advertise, and I highly recommend having an advertising budget. It is not required, but I would recommend, if you can, have at least $25 a year for advertising budget, maybe even $10. A $5 ad is going to help you. So a few things that you want to advertise. One, if you are struggling to get people, so let's say, for example, I wanted to come here, we'll go back to the business suite. Let's say we're struggling to get people, you want to create an ad, and you can, it's absolutely a legitimate PTA expense if you need help. So I can create an ad. You have a few options. So I can choose to boost something that I've already posted. So if I've posted, hey, please join our team, I can go look for that post. It's been a little while. Let me go back here, see if I can find it. So here's a good example. So we really need a sponsors chair. So this is our fundraising person. It's really hard. If you guys are in PTA, you know some of the hardest roles to fulfill are president, treasurer, and fundraising and programs. That's because those are some of the biggest positions. Well, we are struggling right now to get a sponsor, and we call it a sponsor share. So that's what we're looking for. So I already made this post. I don't know that we've gotten any responses on it yet. That's someone else is checking that. But if I wanted to, I already have this post. I don't need to make another one. So what I can do is I can click boost post. And again, all your social media tools, all of them will have something similar to this. So I have my post. It is not set up just yet, but it's giving me a preview of the ad. And now what's important is you can come down here and take and choose your audience. So if you're looking for something where you want people to sign up, you may want to only target people who already like your page, or people who like your page and are similar to them. So what that could mean is, their friends. So, for example, a lot of us, our students who go to the same schools, right? If you've got parent A, B, and C following your page, the odds are they're going to make friends with parents D, E, and F who live in the same neighborhood. So that's another great way to do it. Another example as far as choosing an audience and why you choose a specific audience, you could do people in your local area. I've done this for community events where we're opening it up to everyone in the community is welcome to come, because your community is one of your, it's part of your membership, right? So you can do this. You can be very specific about the people that you're looking for. So for example, here, my audience details, people living in the US between the ages of 18 and up really is what they're saying. That is a huge audience. I do not need to reach that many people for applying to our county council or coming to an event, because nobody in New York or nobody in Canada or nobody in Venezuela is going to be coming to that. So we can limit this. I don't want it to just be etc. I don't want it to just be everyone above the age of 18. So this could be an example where you can actually bring the age down to 13, because the minimum age to be on Facebook or Instagram or all these social medias is 13. So you can bring that down if you're trying to get student memberships, or trying to find a student share, or you're trying to advertise an event. This again comes to knowing your audience, where we come back to figure out one of those things will tell you the average age of your audience as well. So for example, Facebook, you're going to notice that your audience tends to be a little bit older, whereas Instagram, your audience will be a little bit younger. Same thing with TikTok. your audience is going to be a little bit younger on that platform. So understanding where you're advertising and who you're trying to reach. So in this case, for this specific situation, I'm looking for people that might want to join the county council PTA board. So that's probably going to be someone within Seminole County above the age of 18. And I'm also going to assume that they probably need to be parents, maybe not. So I'm going to say, let's do 21. You can do this, etc. And it'll warn you here, if you do pick under 18, you'll get a little bit more restrictions. So now I want to say that I want people over the age of 21 in Seminole County. So I'm going to close out US because I don't want to do everyone in the United States. I'm going to select Seminole County, Florida. And then I can do plus or minus 25 miles. So that's fine because we have a couple people that will help that aren't necessarily within our group, but we can also shrink it a little bit. So if I want to, now we can zoom in and see exactly where it is, etc. So we can keep scrolling down. And then we can get into some more advanced features here in our ads manager. But let's say that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people over the age of 21 in Seminole County. That's going to be my audience. Or people who like our page and similar to them. That's another one if I'm trying to get volunteers. Now you schedule your start and end date. Generally about a week, depends on what you're looking for. You can either, so a few options. You can do like lower. You're going to have your cost down here. So let's say your budget is $20 for this particular ad. Your budget's $5. You have a few options. You can try to reach a whole bunch of people within a couple of days. So let's say my budget's $10. I'm going to shrink this and it's going to tell me over here what my estimated daily results are going to be. So when it says accounts reach, that's going to be how many people see your ad. Then on average, how many people are going to click on it? Take this with a grain of salt. They're trying to, they want you to buy these ads, but it gives you kind of an idea where you're going. So here I have $10, 7 days. I'm probably going to get about 142 to 410 people per day. Now let's say I have $10, but I've only got 3 days left to find someone. So I can change this to 3. It does, again, I'm trying to tell you to run it a little bit longer, that this is up to you and what your budget is. Now you notice that I've shrunk the number of days, so it's only going to run for 3 days, but I'm going to get a lot more. I'm going to hit a lot more people at once. So that's your option. You can take your budget, you can update it, or if you know exactly what you want to run and you don't have to worry about a budget as long as it's under $20 and you just need it to run for 3 days, that's totally fine as well. But if I have 3 days and my budget's $20 or $25, I can pull this up and you can see I'm getting a lot more views with it. So you get an idea of what you can do. You'll come in here, make your payments, etc. And if you decide to cancel your ad early, so let's say we did find a sponsored share and I don't need it, I can come in here and stop the ad and they won't, usually they'll give you a refund or stop charging you because they charge you typically on Facebook. I want to say it's by the hour. I don't know the exact formula, but if you find what you need, you can usually turn the ad off. Or if you accidentally did a typo on the ad, you can cancel it. And all of these ads, I will tell you, they usually do need to be approved. So as soon as you get it, they're not going to just immediately launch it. Usually it's going to take, I want to say usually when I do one on Facebook, it takes a couple of hours for it to become live, but they'll let you know once your advertisement is live. And then you'll be able to see a performance. It'll tell you how many people are clicking on it, how many people are seeing it, etc. All right, I'm going to take a moment to take a breath. And so again, that is the whole point of marketing and understanding your audience, right? You want to give them something that they need. And a lot of people, they need to support nonprofits for different reasons. Usually it's going to be because they believe in your purpose and they believe in your mission. And that's what you need to give them. You need to tell them what you're doing. If you come out and some good examples, I have seen some ads from some wonderful PTAs that are doing their best, and they'll put out an ad that said, we need a sponsored share and put the link. Okay. Or they'll put ways and means is a tricky one. Ways and means and reflections are some of the hardest ones if you just use that term, because most people do not know what that means. Ways and means is an older way to say fundraising. So if you put fundraising share, people are more likely to understand what that means. Same thing with reflections. If you're not in PTA, nobody knows what reflection is. They're going to think of a mirror or looking at themselves or some mindfulness. They're not going to realize that it's an arts thing. So at the county, we call ours a cultural arts and reflections chair because it is reflections. That's what they do. But most people don't are not familiar with the term. So it's important when you are making ads or when you're trying to reach your audience, get the important information out there, right? You want dates, you want times, you want what's expected. If you're asking for, come here, see this one, like click on, you can see it's small, and I apologize. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. But this ad tells what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who can talk to people, right? That's what this position needs. Now, when we need our website share, I'm not going to put that. I'm going to be like, are you good with editing websites? Are you a graphic designer, etc.? Put what you're looking for. Put what skill is going to make that position successful. So for this one, I'm looking for sponsored share. I need someone who can talk to people, right? And then a brief description of what they're going to be doing. So this one, ours is pretty well defined. We know, we have our standing rules, lays all of it out. So I'm telling you exactly what you need to do. And then the link is there to let us know that you're interested. And that's another key differentiator. You'll get more people if you put the application as, all right, just let us know you're interested and we'll talk to you. It doesn't mean that they're signing up. It gives them the ability to kind of dip their toes in the water without fully committing. And you can call them and have that conversation. A huge part of that is when we set the expectations in the beginning. If someone, don't fill a position just to fill it. I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here because I've seen that fail so many times. There are 3 positions in PTA you have to have: president, treasurer, secretary. Those are the 3 that you have to have a functioning PTA. And that's recording secretary. If you only have 1 secretary, that's fine. You don't differentiate, that's fine too. Some have a corresponding and recording secretary, but your recording secretary is the one that you need. So as long as you have those 3 roles, everyone else is optional. You do not have to do everything just because you did it last year. If you run a fall carnival every year and all of a sudden all those parents that used to run it are gone and you're left with a brand new team and it's just the 3 of you, don't sign yourself up to do a carnival. Say, all right, we'll think about it. Put your ad out as the school would like to do a carnival. We don't have the people. Can you contribute, etc. Do what you can, do it well, and don't overcommit. You don't want to burn yourself or your teammates out. That is part of your branding. That is part of your marketing, because you need to make sure that your team is something that you're selling, something that someone wants to be a part of. If everybody sees the same people on Facebook all the time, so and I'm a big proponent of, please don't post too many pictures of your board on your Facebook page, right? That's not the story that you're selling. You are not selling how good a job Rachel did. You're not selling how good a job Shelly did. You're not selling all that. Like, people are following your page to see the kids, to see how you're supporting the school. Caution, of course, when taking pictures, never take pictures of children during school hours unless they're your children. You take pictures of the teacher, take pictures of the back of their heads if you need to, or if you take a picture, put the smiley face or something over them. Never put a child's picture on social media without permission. If it's a open event where it's after school or something, usually you can still ask as a courtesy, right? You don't want to just keep putting pictures of your board over and over again. Like, hey, look at us, selfie with the teacher card. Hey, look at us, selfie with the fundraiser. Take pictures of your families, take pictures of your teachers. If your principal does funny things, I always love those. They always get some of the biggest reactions, because you can go through and see which one. I'm actually going to come back here, show you this as well. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, you can go to your content and go to publish, and you can see what people are interested in. Right, you can see which of your posts are getting the most engagement. So reach is the people who saw the post, right? Engagements, and it'll tell you right up here if you hover over the little information symbol right next to it. Engagements are the people that actually did something. That's really what you're looking for, is engagements. How many people didn't just see it, they were scrolling through and happened to see it? How many people actually were interested in that particular piece? Did they like and react? Did they have a comment, etc.? More importantly, this is one of my favorites. Are they sharing? Not only did they enjoy the content, they shared it with someone else. That's amazing. So what you like, for example, here, this post was where you put out for teachers to get some freebies. People love freebies. That gets our account out there. That lets other people know. That's what people want to see. So this can help you go through. There's lots of content. Not everybody's going to like everything. But you can come down here and see how things are doing, see what people want to see. Are you including links? Is it easy to work with? What are people commenting on your page, etc. So you can kind of see how you're doing. And that's an amazing tool as well. So you can publish. Another thing, if you are social media chair, schedule. I would love to see everyone have at least 1 or 2 posts a day. Sometimes that's not feasible, and that's fine. Keep your messaging clear and consistent. So if your families know to go to Facebook to find out about you, keep your Facebook active, right? Facebook and Instagram is usually easier because you can post and review comments and your content at the exact same time. You don't have to log into 2 different social medias, and you're getting 2 different audiences. Whereas trying to maintain TikTok or Twitter, etc., is a completely different platform, which is fine. Sometimes you have a social media chair, you have a social media team, which is even better, that can go in and make those posts on those other platforms. But don't spread yourself too thin. Pick one, or in this case, again, Facebook and Instagram, you do at the same time. Pick one communication method, even if it's not social media. If you do newsletters, let's say you email families once a week with updates, pick whatever you're going to do for your team and do it well. It's going to be much better, because people, when they start looking for you, or you're at an event and you're like, hey, this is PTA, and they're going to say, this is, I didn't see that. Just tell them and keep that going, because that's how you create your brand, right? That's how you market to people. That's how you get them interested. That's how you keep them coming to where you need them to be. So whatever you decide to do as far as your communication plan, just keep doing that and do that well. It's much better for you to have just a Facebook page and you're putting all your posts, you're putting all your information, than it is to have a Facebook, an Instagram, a TikTok, a YouTube, all of that, and it's not being maintained, because you're going to have families that will be on those other platforms and think, oh, maybe they're not doing anything. Now, if you're not sure, you can always claim your tag, which, if you'll notice that we had an old account and we couldn't recover it. So now our tag is SCCPTA1 on a few things. If you need to, go claim your tag on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. You can claim your tag, but you don't have to actually make it active or use it if you're not ready. All right. I can talk about marketing and branding forever. It's probably one of the most important things that you'll do. Again, you are your Hamilton PTA, your Sanford Middle PTA, your Seminole County Council PTA. What do you want people to think of when they say your name? I mean, there's personal branding as well. It's the same concept. What do you want people to think of when they see your logo? What do you want people to think of when they hear your name?